I'll feed anybody, but I'm not for everybody. My name is Chef Derrick Green, and I find people that have turned their life's experiences into ingredients they use to feed others. We're redefining soul food. These people have turned their adversities into their advantages. This is the Sauce of Life show, and let's go. Nick Ogilvie, brother, welcome to the Sauce of Life podcast. This podcast is truly about people that have taken their life's experiences and turned those into food that they now use to feed others. You're one of those people that has an amazing life story and you give back. So, with that being said, Nick, please introduce yourself to the world.
Having me, Derek. I appreciate it. So, a bit about me: born and raised in New Mexico, Clovis, New Mexico, eastern New Mexico, and from there, I love and had the passion for golf, and I golfed since I was 7 years old till currently, and went to college at West Texas A&M University. Then a semester before graduating, I saw my friends that were graduating and had degrees, and I saw they weren't making any money with their degrees. So I had an opportunity to work for BNSF Railroad, which was a great paying job, that I was going to make more money with that job than I was anywhere else. So I left school with only a semester left in college and joined the railroad. And a lot of people, they didn't know what to think. But then I went to the railroad, and about 2 years into it, I get laid off from the railroad. And I had to figure out what I was going to do. And back in the day, we had magazines, and there was a magazine called Smart Money Magazine. And I've always been a little bit of a nerd in a sense that I always like to look at stocks and stuff like that. And in the back, it had a be your own boss, earn franchises, get franchises. And what it was the next biggest thing in the next 30 years was solar power or artificial turf. Well, I didn't want to go back to to college, learn about electrical, because if and you don't have to go solar, but that's me. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in. That's what I want to do. So I knew I couldn't be of good service and go back into it because that's not what I want to do. But artificial turf appealed to me in two ways. One, that eastern New Mexico is running out of water. We're in a drought. It's drought stricken. There's actually homes on the south side of Clovis, where I was born and raised. They have to get their water trucked in to this day. And it's a huge issue. So there's a book out there that says Every Last Drop for Sale, and it talks about water becoming the next oil. So I thought, well, let me learn about artificial turf some. And then the next appealing part is, hey, I could build my own golf green. Like I said before, I love golf. I just love golf. And so I thought, well, heck, I can have my own putting green. Yeah, let's do this. So I filled out all the financial applications for a couple companies to become a franchise. Everything looked great, but I never got a call back when it went to the next step. And it's because Clovis only had 30,000 people, and they didn't think it was going to support us, sustain a artificial turf company. So I found out where they were getting a turf made. And the guy there said, well, I have a guy that could teach you, but I'm not going to sell to you until you're taught to do it the correct way, which I've always admired that, because I believe, he wants to get his product out there, but he wants to do it correctly. And so I flew out to San Jose, California, and I paid a guy for 2 weeks to teach me how to do artificial turf. And as he's teaching me, I'm paying him, I'm paying my board, paying my food, right? Everything to learn how to do this craft. And I took this, I went back, and now I went to, every community college has a small business development center. And so I went to the small business development center so they could help me get a SBA loan, because I didn't, I wanted to get a loan. I didn't really want to empty out my savings. And so they were really helpful there at Clovis Community College, super helpful. They did everything. They worked me through a business plan, did all of that. And then come to find out, I got laughed at every bank I went to. Not one bank accepted me. And they said, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. Artificial turf is just, that's not where it's at. Well, fast forward to where I'm at today, and it is where it's at. So yeah, that's a little bit about this part of my story here. So
Okay. Man, when I first met you, I remember you telling me about turf, and it never really struck me that people have businesses around artificial turf, but you're putting turf in soccer stadiums and football stadiums and everything. But before we really dive into the surf, because you're pretty successful in that business, I mean the turf, not surf, pretty successful in that business. I want to go back for a second. You said
okay.
that you started playing golf when you were 7. You developed a love for it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see somebody that was playing golf that you started developing a love for it? Is that just something that came? What was the origin of that?
So my papaw, he was a farmer, rancher, but every morning before he would get out, he'd go play around with his guys, 9 holes, and he'd go play golf. And I fell in love with it, and we'd be out there on the farm, and I'd hit golf balls and stuff like that. And I really fell in love with it at that point. And then they had a junior camp, and my parents put me in a junior camp, and had a couple buddies of mine from church that were in it, and so we ended up just some of them didn't like it as much. I went to basketball or football or whatever, and but my passion was golf, and I would end up going to the golf course, and I leave my bag there at the golf course and ride my bike back and forth from the house, and the golf course is kind of my babysitter, as you might say, because both my parents worked, so all I did was golf.
Man, do they put turf in golf courses?
So I did. They're starting to now, more prevalent. I am the one that I built the very first artificial turf golf course on the Paladero Canyon rim outside of Amarillo, and the first one in the United States. And I did 9 holes with the golf greens, the fringe, tee boxes, and then a driving range. So, but yeah, it's starting to get more and more acceptable, especially for the practice areas.
Okay, all right. So, man, I know you as this resilient guy because you've had life kick you in the teeth a couple times in different ways.
Yeah,
And if you don't mind sharing some of that, and because I really like to dig into your story.
sure.
One of the things about this thing, bro, is it's like everybody that comes on here has their own successes in life, but that's not where we're aiming at necessarily, right? I want to understand how you got to that success level. What were those things that inspired you? So anyway, I'll let you share.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, I always believe in positive thinking, being the best that I can be, and so, yeah, I'll go into the, I guess the first episode I had, Derrick, the double pulmonary embolism. Is that what you
Okay.
want me to go into? If that,
Yeah, if that's where you want to go.
okay,
And if
yeah,
you don't mind explaining what that is for everybody so we
yeah.
can.
So, a double pulmonary embolism is just a big old blood clot. That's the only way I can say. It's a big blood clot. And so it was sitting right about here, and I was working the cattle, and I was just got off the tractor, is going to move some feed, and the next thing I knew, I heard a loud like ringing in my ear, and I was really disoriented, and so I knew something wasn't right. So I hopped back on the tractor, closed the gate, took it back up to the house, and because of COVID, we always kept oximeter around just to be on the safe. So I had oximeter handy, and my wife put it on me, and my heart rate was at um, over 120. Oxygen level was at 86, and so took some water, sat back in the easy chair, and everything started leveling out. Everything was great. Then at nighttime, I use a CPAP to sleep, and I put that on. And as soon as I put that on, I guess that air did not like that it couldn't go anywhere. And I passed out because I still had that blood clot blocking. And it's just that wasn't doing anything strenuous, so it wasn't showing up. And so it blocked it. I passed out, and I got one yell out to yell for my wife Vanessa, and she came in there, and I told just dial 911. And so they thought I was having a heart attack. So I'm swallowing, putting Tylenol up underneath my tongue and doing the whole 9 yards. And I fell out 3 more times when the guys got there, taking me to the hospital. And then they found out what it was, double pulmonary embolism there in the hospital room, or in the emergency room. And they said it's the largest one we have seen here at this hospital. And the doctor doesn't know if he's going to be able to, he wants to risk it, doesn't know if he's going to be able to take it out or not. You have about 45 minutes left to live. So at that time, I knew it was super serious. But I was at peace. I was propped up a little bit so I could, if as soon as I laid down, I'd pass out. So I was propped up a little bit, and over in the corner, I had my wife, and I could see her, and she was very concerned, but I was at peace. And so the only thing I wasn't at peace with, and I didn't want to leave this world yet because, man, I have my wife, my 2 girls, like I got to figure this out. And they came in and said they'll take you back and do the surgery. So I was super excited about that, that they were going to do it. And when they were taking me back, I said, "Where do I get the anesthesia?" And they said, "You don't get anesthesia. You're too far gone." And so I didn't really understand that until they started cutting on me. And I will tell you, that was the wildest thing. I'm a big dude. An operating table's super tiny. I feel like I was like a big guy on top of an ironing board, and I mean that's basically what it is. And I had to keep my hands in these like little stirrup things, and I could not move them. And I said, "Well, how long can I not move for?" They said, "You have to stay still for an hour. That's as long as the surgery." So an hour came and gone. 2 hours came and gone. And this whole time I'm just sitting there. I cannot move, or else it could end my life. And so I'm sitting there in pain. And they had one nurse, all she was doing is wiping my head off with sweat because of the pain. And I tell you, hour number 3, I was glad when that was up, because then they actually removed most of it and got me out of there. So from there I was okay, right? To that point. And I went for about a year, and I still wasn't getting a lot of relief on breathing and stuff like that. And my wife, everybody just said, "Well, that's just the way it is." And it felt like I was drowning, Derrick. It felt like I was just like I couldn't get enough breath, like just it was really tough.
Like it
And
physically felt like you're drowning.
yeah, yeah. And so she didn't take no for an answer. She was in a mom's group on Facebook, and she just asked someone, "Is there a pulmonary doctor that y'all recommend?" And a lot of them said UT Southwest. They have a great pulmonary division and specialist, and they'll be able to help you if they're able to. So I went over there, did a whole bunch of tests with them, failed all the tests. And at that time, I didn't know what failing the test meant. I just figured my lung capacity was bad. Had 40% lung capacity. And then the doctor, it was during Christmas time. My wife had already went up to Kentucky, our other house where our daughters are at. And I was going to come up there the couple days later, had to get some turf stuff done out of the way. And so the hospital called me, or the doctor's office called me a little bit earlier and said, "Hey, do you mind coming in and talking to us?" So not a problem at all. So I go in there, and I just knew something was bad when she started tapping her foot and had water in her eyes. I was like, okay, something serious, because she asked me, "Where's your wife at?" And I said, "Well, she's back home for Christmas, getting everybody ready, And so she said, "Well, you have what's called CTEF." And I thought, okay, what is CTEF? And so she told me it's a rare blood disease where your blood makes blood clots. So, okay, that's not good. That's not good. So she said, you roughly have about a year left to live with the way your lungs are and everything like that. But you might be a candidate for this surgery. And I was like, okay. She goes, but the surgery is very, very, very risky, and there's a good chance you might not make it. And so okay, well, so they said they won't know if I can accept it to be a candidate until January. So the holidays pass, and I want to say we were coming home from Kentucky, January 3rd or something like that. And I got a call from them, and they said I'd be a candidate. They'd do the surgery, and March 5th. So that was the day set in stone, was March 5th to get this surgery. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the surgery. The surgery, it's not your average just run-of-the-mill surgery. It's a heart bypass, a lung bypass, and then they put your body on ice. And they want you to take your body down 30 degrees in temperature so that your blood flow starts slowing way, way down, so they can, every time they go in there and take a blood clot, they stop all the machines that are running your body. So they got 18 blood clots out of me. So they stopped the machine 18 times.
Doesn't that mean you died? Like
18 times.
You died 18 times. Holy
Every
crap.
time they stopped that. So the thing is, though, they put on ice, so that way it's really, I guess, technically my cells aren't dying or anything like that. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's technically I'm not dying, right? And so that's the whole surgery is doing that. And so leading up to that was the day before they were to get my blood sample. So they knew what, in case I was running out of blood or something like that, they could, transfusion. So I didn't know what my blood type was. And so my youngest, she had flown in for the surgery and everything. And come to find out, she had just got there whenever they gave me the results, and they said, your blood type is B positive. And she just starts laughing hysterically, because she goes, of course it's B positive, because you're so positive. Why would it be anything else? And, I knew I was going to be okay. I knew the Lord had me, I knew God had me where he wanted me. I firmly believe that. And then when I heard B positive, that just even more, I just knew everything was going to be okay. So, they told us a little about surgery, about kind of what I just told you. And then they said for a week, I'll be in ICU for 3 days. I'll be, they'll have me in a coma or whatever. So that way I can't, that way nothing, everything, my body reacts correctly. And I guess after my surgery, 17 hours later, they were taking the tubes out, taking me off the machines in just 17 hours. So I had him beat on that, which is insane. And then 3 days go by, and I'm up walking, and I'm out of ICU in 3 days. I was supposed to be there for a week. So, that just tells you how much your mindset is everything, and God, always putting God first, like behind me here, the Psalms 91, that's my shield. He protects me no matter what. And I firmly believe that. He's not done with me yet, Derrick. And and I don't know what he has in store for me. I have no clue, but I'm ready and I'm willing to serve him and to do whatever I need to do. So I'm really, it's crazy, but I'm really looking forward to that part of my life because I love helping people.
Nick, you just said so much in there,
I
bro.
know.
Wow, so much. Just the mindset overall. I often say that success leaves clues. I've heard that so many times, and you're a walking success story. And it seems to have began with your faith, your,
Hmm.
your faith and your paradigm. Because I mean, that goes back to the faith because you're saying that God is going to get me through this. Whether somebody believes in God, the universe, the creator, hand that God's all, or quantum energy, whatever it is,
Right.
where does that originate for you that you have the faith that somebody told you have 45 minutes to live? Oh, 45 minutes, 45
Yeah.
minutes to live, and that you knew that no, I'm going to get through this.
It's one of those things that I was super, super blessed to have such a great family. And I mean, I have a lot of friends that weren't as lucky as I was. And I went to church as a young child, and I just it's one of those things. I've seen miracles with my own eyes, that I can't explain other than God. I can't do it. I've been in different areas of the world, and I've seen things, and it's just absolutely amazing. So I know he's real, and I trust in him and know that whatever direction that I am to go, that it's the good direction. So that's why I knew I hadn't done any. So when they tell me 45 minutes left to live, I knew I hadn't done anybody wrong. I didn't owe anybody anything. And I was content because I always try. Am I perfect? By no means, no way. No way I'm not perfect. I've done a lot of crappy things in my life. I have. Um, but I always try to be better than the better than I was the day before.
Yeah.
I always want to grow as a person. I always want to, not strive in just business, but in self-development, in my own personal life, in helping others. Because I'm a firm believer that if you open a door for someone, for anyone, it could be a kid, an adult, a man, a lady, who cares? Opening a door for someone, coming out of the convenience store, that may have made their day. You don't know. But if you did that for the child, now the child's going to say, "Oh wow, that was really nice, that guy. I'm going to do it because it made me feel good. So I'm going to do it." And I think, a lot of what we experience today as adults is it's solved by one thing, by one word, love. If we loved everybody the same, that solves the world's problems. And that's one thing that I try to tell people is, I mean, just love each other.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about the food, right? So it's like I love family reunions, or I love because we're all bringing food together, food around the table. It gets people talking. It gets, just like the hurricane we were talking a little earlier, the hurricane that's coming in. They're
Yeah.
gonna need food. They're gonna need food. They're gonna need, it's and when you have food and you have around the table, people talk. And I really think that that's how you can get your message across. So that's a little bit into what you're asking.
Man, whew, I agree with you. I feel that love is the highest frequency and that love is God, since God is the highest frequency. And I agree with you that, in my opinion, the solution to all of these things that we have going on in the world right now is more love and more acceptance of people. But I want to go back again because success leaves clues. And you said that as you're there, brother, you were content. And earlier you said, you were content, but you still said, I don't want to go yet because I have my family,
Yep.
right? And have you always desired or strove to live a life where you live without regret? Or is that something that came to be at a certain point? Where did that develop?
Man, you know, I've always lived for no regret. Um, Jumping off into the deep end. I have my whole life, and I don't know where I get that from. I really don't. I want to say it. It's both from my mom and dad's side because they had, their parents were successful entrepreneurs. Um, it's you go all in with what you got. If you believe it bad enough, if you believe that what your outcome is, it's going to happen. It's whenever when I got laid off from the railroad, I went to the turf, and then I quit. I quit the railroad. People said, "But you have a great job," and they're right. I did. I was very blessed, and I had a great job, and it was good enough for them. It was good enough for them, but it wasn't good enough for me. I wanted more because I believe each individual, each one of us, should obtain as much as they possibly can. Because a lot of problems out there today, Derrick. People don't know their self worth, and it's a huge problem. And I don't know what that stems from. I don't because I see a lot of people out there that have a lot of worth, and I'll tell a little bit about how I teach how whenever I teach my guys on the turf side is when we do a turf job, I tell them I don't care if we're doing turf for a single wide or a mansion. You treat these customers all the same because they all worked really hard to pay us to do a great job. And we do. We treat everybody the same. So that's yeah.
Wow. Brother, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I'll tell this to the audience. The first time that I met you, it was because a friend of ours, a mutual friend named Israel, invited me to a mastermind. And I happened to be in Florida at the time. I had told Israel no so many times. In the and just keeping it real on here, in the financial position that I was in at the time, I couldn't afford it. And I was like, bro, I just can't. When he told me the number, I was just like, I just can't right now. And I went to Miami for America's Next Great Speaker, and I placed second. And I texted Israel, and he was like, "Bro, you have to come to this thing." And I'm like, "Man, I." So anyway, he forced me to come. He said, "I got you. Don't worry about the ticket. We'll work that out. You just get your butt over here." So I drove from Miami to Kissimmee, and this is when I met you. What you guys probably don't know is that I pulled into the driveway, and that was the biggest mansion I had ever seen in my life. And I'm standing outside this thing, and I'm kind of spazzing a little bit. And Israel came outside, and I'm like, "Bro, I don't belong in there." And he goes, "Do you even know who's here?" And I'm like, "No." And then he shows me the speakers and all this stuff lineup. I'm like, "Oh, I definitely don't belong here." He looks at me and he's like, "Where did you just come from?" I'm like, "Miami." And he's like, "And you just placed second in America's Next Greatest Speaker for Miami, right?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Get your butt in the house." Like, like he's talking like this. I went into that house with such anxiety, Nick. And the thing that I remember first and foremost from that trip, I don't know who all I spoke to. What I remember is you. I remember you approaching me, and you came with such an authenticity. and you can see people's energies. I am an empath, and that energy was there, and it's an energy of love and acceptance. You weren't judging or anything, and we began talking, and you were telling me about your dreams with the Happy Gilmore
Oh
uh,
yeah.
themed restaurant and all of this stuff. And the thing that I saw you light up most was with your cows. You were talking about your wagging cows. And then you showed me the little videos of the happy cows, like, and man, brother, I remember this feeling inside myself, like, that's a really good dude. That's a really good human being. Every now and then, God connects me with some really good human beings. So I just want to give you your flowers for that and make sure that you know that now,
Thank you.
and I'm doing it publicly, that you had an impact on me. I want to say that I've lived a life. I asked myself since I was a child. I don't know where the question originated, but it's a recurring question. If I lived my entire life and my life at some point I impacted someone else that allowed them to become their greatest self, but I'm never made aware of who it is that I helped, or even if I did, was my life worth it? So let me ask you that question. Given this mindset that you have, if you're never made aware of the people that you help, or how you help them, maybe you inspire the next Nelson Mandela or Maya Angelou or Donald Trump or Barack Obama or whoever, right? Is your life worth it? Would it have all been worth it for you?
Oh, 100%. 100%, without a doubt. It's worth it. I mean, it literally goes back to just helping, to helping people. No matter I mean, it's worth it no matter what. Um I hope that there is there is someone that I have helped, that, and it's one of those things that I may have hindered some people too. I don't know, but no, it truly is worth it, 100%. I think what for me is, you know now is I want to not only help them become a better person, a better leader, a better, father, husband, whatever, but I also want them to know Christ. And that's another thing, right? That's something that I've lacked in for so long on not sharing. Not that I'm ashamed or whatever. I just sometimes my actions don't, come through the way they should or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that's my next biggest goal is to just, I mean, the thing is, Derek, too, is like, you ever just sit there and, like I had this happen so we took a family vacation in Utah this summer, and I had to go every week. I have to go and get my blood drawn for INR to see how thick or thin my blood is. And now I have a machine that does it, which is really cool because it communicates with the hospital. Its technology is awesome. But before then, I didn't have that. And I had a blood draw there in Park City, Utah, where I was staying at. And I went to the hospital, and I could tell the lady just was not having a good day. It was a Monday, and I talked to her, and she was like, "Well, this, just one thing after another." I call it the Eeyore syndrome. Poor me, just whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, "So what are you in here for?" And I said, "Well, just getting INR, getting checked." And she goes, "Well, what's that?" And I told her what I went through, what I told y'all. And then she's like, "Okay, well, maybe my weekend wasn't so bad. Maybe it wasn't so bad." So you got to put things in perspective too, and tell people, like, hey, it gets better. And it's one of the things, like, whenever I'll use a sales tip that I tell people, it's okay if someone tells you no. They're not going to ground you. They're not going to send you off to your room. It's a no. It's just having people know that you care at the end of the day. Ask them questions. How was your weekend? How was this or was that? Why did that put you in that way? Act like you care, because you do care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe someone, maybe that lady that was drawing my blood, her boyfriend, her husband, whatever, her son, whatever, just didn't want to talk to him. I don't know. Didn't feel comfortable saying, man, this weekend sucked. Didn't want to tell a coworker. But now she was able to tell me. I was able to help her get through it, through the bad day. And luckily it was in the morning, and hopefully she had a great day, because whenever I left, she had a smile on her face. So I mean, that's good. It's just, you always want to be a blessing to others, or I try to be.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And honestly, brother, I am a person that feel that life happens for you, not to you. And just sitting here and putting things back into perspective, listening to the people today, just talking. I left Atlanta. I'm in DC right now, but
Okay.
listening to people talk about the traffic, and it's like I got to spend 45 minutes in traffic, and then just put that back in perspective. And it's like this man was given 45 minutes to live. What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
What are you actually complaining about? Let me ask you, this thing about worth, value. You began this conversation by saying that people often don't understand their value, they don't understand their worth. This is something that I have personally struggled with before, and I'm just being honest with you. I quite literally have a tattoo on my arm that says I am, and it's just a reminder anytime I'm feeling that I'm not worthy, like I am worthy. Where or how do you maintain that position of feeling worthy and then making sure that you pour into others for them to know that they're worthy as well?
So how I am worthy? Is that what you said?
Yeah. What does it mean to you that you are worthy, and then why do you pour into others so that they understand their worth or their value?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm worthy because of. I mean, it all comes through Christ, right? Like it comes back to that. Like, I mean, I know I'm worthy. I'm worthy of helping others. I'm worthy of all. I mean, all things that I can do, right? So that's why I know everybody else is worthy of it as well. You have one of the things that I hear a lot of is generational curses. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah. I don't believe in it, but yes.
And yeah, and a lot of people, they don't break through it because of, it goes back to we're talking about the rooms and the people that you're in with.
Yeah, the green room. Yeah.
It, yeah. And that's so impactful and so important, because if you don't have the right people in your room, you're never going to feel worthy. You know why? Because they don't feel worthy and they're not going to share it with you.
Right.
And that goes back to the negative, right? And so, it was I learned that there, a lot at that, right? And another thing that I found interesting was Gloria Mayfield Banks when she was there. It's kind of read, I'm just
Yeah.
my wife, she sells New Skin, which is MLM, like how she did, Gloria Mayfield did the Mary Kay. And
Yes.
one thing that I was really interested in is how she grew such a big following, a big, and she's, because the thing that I see a lot with is all these women get super excited about making more money, about doing better for themselves. And I mean, they're literally excited to sell whatever it is, whatever widget it is, they're excited. Well, they stay excited for a week to 2 weeks. And then you start to see it fall off. And it 9 times out of 10, it's because of their spouse. And that to me is shocking, that they have spouses that don't believe in them, that
Yes.
don't want to say, hey, I know tonight you got to get on a call. Can you watch the kids? Can you do dinner? Something like that. And they don't do that, which shocks me, you know? And so Gloria's like, well, I make all my girls sign a contract that their husbands have to sign too, you know? And I think that that's kind of cool because then those women understand that their men know that they are worth something. And I think it goes back to the self-worth. And it's so important to know that your spouse thinks that you're worth it too. Your kids. I mean, everything. I mean, everybody's worth it. And how do you get people to know their worth is by telling them. Say, you know, man, I really like what you're wearing today. You look really good in that. Something simple, something, you know, make them feel good. Make that, because then they're gonna be like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I am gonna go to work today. I do feel pause. Like everybody starts having their own, you know, whatever their worth is.
Yeah.
That's how they start moving.
Beautiful, man. And Gloria was powerful there, bro. And when she was speaking, I remember walking up to her and telling her that I could see that she's a kingmaker because of the energy that she puts out there. And
Yeah.
there are those people, because she also spoke about supporting her husband. Not only did her husband support her, but she supported him. Even though she's more
Yes.
successful than him, she still elevated him. And I was just like, wow. Anyway, man, there's so many beautiful things that you've said here. Now, I'm just looking over some of these notes that I've taken here, man. And brother, you have a lot of them. Just sitting here. Okay, going back. All right, rewind.
Yep.
This mindset that you have. One of the notes that I have here is that you made your own table. In that, when you kept getting rejection after rejection, you didn't give up, and eventually, with this guy with the turf, you said, "Okay, I know where you get your turf from. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to learn this stuff." Did you have examples of that as a kid where someone just decided, you know what, this is something that I want and I'm not going to let obstacles stop me? Or is that just something that you developed through osmosis? Right? Like, where'd that come from?
I think it's just something I developed, to be honest with you. And I don't know, it's because if it's being competitive. I really don't know, to be honest with you. Other
Okay.
than just I'm super competitive and always strive to do my best. And so if I want it bad enough, I want to make sure, see if I can make it work.
And you're the type person that will make it work. That's just the thing, man. You're the type
Yeah.
person that will make it work. So many, you said about leaving college. I believe you said a semester early,
Yep.
right? One semester early.
Yep.
And it triggered a thought in my head. First of all, we're both B positive blood types. So if you're ever in a situation where you need some blood, just let me know. I'll hop on an airplane.
Nice.
But when I started this journey that I'm on now, I was at 17 years of active duty military service, 3 years left before I get a pension for the rest of my life. But I realized it wasn't my purpose. And I decided to shift the trajectory. It takes a lot of courage to do what you did, a semester away from completing the degree.
Hmm.
Most of the people that I mentor now are people that would have completed that degree and then spent the next 20 to 30 years working in a job that they hate. The teachers, the pastors, the accountants, the engineers, that their parents wanted them to become an engineer or told them that they have to become a doctor or whatever. But you decided to go after this thing inside of you, which is entrepreneurship. Were your parents entrepreneurs? Were they hard workers? Like, that courage that it took for you to bet on yourself is something that not a lot of people have. Where'd you get
Yeah.
that from?
Yeah. So I tell you, it's one of those things again. I'm truly blessed with awesome parents. My mom, hard worker. She'll probably stay at work till 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Still to this day. My dad, he retired uh 2, 3 weeks ago from the railroad, but super hard worker. I remember growing up, he wanted to get this anniversary present for my mom, And so he asked my papaw if he could borrow the tractor to build these roads for this development when he got off from work. So he'd get off from work to go back to work. And I would sit on the tractor with him while he was doing that so he could make money to get my mom an anniversary gift. And so it's things like that, that, and, my, both my granddads, entrepreneurs, and, it's one of those things that people would call even on a weekend, right? So my pawpaw, he ran and owned a dry cleaners. And so he would get a phone call at whatever, say, his name was Wiley. I'd say, Wiley, can you go and meet me at the cleaners? I forgot to pick up some clothes and I got to go on a flight tomorrow. I got an important business meeting, whatever. He wouldn't say, I got to go. He go, okay, yeah, sure. I'll meet you over there, and just go. My other granddad was a diesel mechanic. So we'd be watching football or something like that on a Saturday, Sunday, whatever, college or pro. And he may get a phone call and there may be a trucker stranded somewhere. Well, he'd put on his shoes, and go and fix a stranded trucker, whatever it was to help someone else, and, I mean, yeah, my dad retired, but yet now he's working cattle, it's just, it's one of those things that, if someone asked me, so what are you going to do when you retire? And I said, I'm not going to retire. I love working too dang much. I enjoy it. I literally enjoy working. And so, I feel like I've been retired ever since I quit the railroad. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love what I do. I love helping others. A lot of people say, well, what do you get gratification out with the turf? I said, well, I transform people's lives. And people are like, what? A yard? I'm like, think about it. The husband, the father, they're not out there having to mow anymore. So they get to spend more time with their families. Their dogs are happier because they're not getting all muddy. And then the wife's happy because she's not having to clean up all the mud that's in the house. So, and the kids love it. Kids love turf. So, yeah, yeah.
Trust me, I've thought about you many days living up in Alaska, and I look at that backyard, and I'm like, man, I need turf. Yeah, you man, it just astounds me, brother. It's 48 minutes into this interview, and they gave you 45 minutes to live. Like I've just been processing this over and over in my head. Like, what happens when somebody gives you a death sentence like that, and you just outright reject it, essentially? But then you go through, and 18 times, they put you off the support, dropped your body temperature down so that they could remove more of the blood clot. 18 times.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still sitting here. Tell me, bro, man, what are you grateful for now?
What am I grateful for?
Yeah.
I think it'd be easier to say what I'm not grateful for,
All right, let's go.
to be honest with you. I mean, I just, man,
Is there
I'm
anything you're
grateful.
not grateful for? I mean,
I the bad thing is about me, Derek, is if I could say I wasn't grateful for X, Y, and Z, there's a reason why there's X, Y, and Z there that I would be grateful for, because there's always a reaction to an action,
yes,
So I really can't say, I'm grateful for everything.
it's the
I am
perfect answer.
truly grateful for everything. It was funny. I was reading this book, and I wish I could remember the title of it, but I was reading it before, when I was getting ready for my surgery, and man, anyways, it said that when someone dies, you have a lot of tears and a lot of crying. And so I thought about that. But they said, if you think about it this way, you're not crying because you're sad they died. You're crying because you remember all the good times you had with them. And I was like,
Mm.
ooh, I never thought about that. So truly, I think that's why people cry when people die, is because they're not sad that they died. They're sad because they can all of a sudden in their mind, they remember of all the good times they've had. And I mean, it's just everything's perspective in
Yeah.
life.
It's
So
beautiful that you are a person that is a walking embodiment of keeping life in perspective, and resiliency and adaptability and grit, tenacity, so many things, man. Perseverance, just I could keep going on and on. I mean, to lay on a table for 3 hours while people are cutting on you, and the most astounding thing of all of that that you said, you're laying there 3 hours, no anesthesia. They told you to keep your arms in a certain position, and you held it in those stirrups for 3 freaking hours. Like, you're a man.
and you know what? You know the crazy thing about that, Derrick, is that hurt more than anything else is having to stay still. That's what hurt.
Oh man, God, the messaging in that, how sometimes you have to stand still, even when it hurts and through the pain, because somebody's working on you to heal you, and you just have to grit through it.
That's
Dude,
it.
man, I love talking with you, man. The energy that you have, bro, the energy that you bring, and I know that you're touching people's lives with the little simple things that you do. And Nick, you said it earlier. We're wrapping this up, but you said it earlier about how you talk with your employees and you tell them to treat everybody the same. You never know what experience is going to change somebody's life or change somebody's day. You just don't. And so I appreciate that you give back in that way, that you choose to give back, even if, like you said, it's just opening a door for somebody. While I was in the DC, not the DC, the Atlanta airport, it's letting someone else get on the tram before I did, because maybe they're on a shorter time suspense than I am. You know what I mean? So hey, go ahead. Those
Right.
moments. And I want to make sure that I'm giving your wife her flowers correctly. Did you say her name is Vanessa or Anessa?
Nessa.
Anessa. The
Yep.
fact that she stands by you and stood by you and was there to support you, and still to this day is that beacon for you. Man, you light up when you start talking about her, and you light up when you talk about your girls. And so I actually love when you talk about your family, because I love seeing people light up. It's a beautiful thing. I appreciate you. Two last things, bro.
Okay.
One, where can people contact you if they want to get a hold of you? And since we didn't go into everything, I just want to say that you do turf. You
Yep.
grow Wagyu cows, the highest quality. Talk about your cows right quick. Screw the
So
price.
so so yeah. So I have. So I went from the Wagyu, Derrick, to Belted Galloways.
Belted Galloways.
So let me tell you a little bit about Belted Galloways. They look like Oreos.
Okay.
They have one white stripe right in the middle, and then they're black on both ends. Or like Silver, which is my bull, he's done color, which is a reddish brown on both ends. And they're the only cut of meat that obtain the same as fish oils, but in beef. And
What?
so,
Like omega
yeah,
3, omega 6 fish oil, or like oil? What, really?
yes,
Okay.
in beef. And so they're super, super tender and they're super, super lean. So they're gonna be the next Wagyu, right? They're gonna be the and so incredible cows. It's I love my cows. I they're hilarious. They have their own personality. So but I've been around cows my whole life, and they're yeah, and I love teaching people about cows, and I love teaching people about different types of meats and stuff. Because if you have, it's funny. I had a buddy of mine, Logan. I'll be real quick on this one. A buddy of mine, Logan.
You don't have to rush, bro.
He said, man, I got to try some of that hamburger one of these days. I opened up one of my 3 freezers, and I said, here's 10 pounds of beef. Go have at it, So later on that night, he has a picture, and he's like this with a skillet, and there's no grease. And he goes, that was the most flavorful meat I've ever had in my life, and there's no grease. I said, I know. It's incredible. I said, so what's different between store-bought and grass-fed, farm-fed? I have, it's one of those things like, I have, and same as the other cows, Derrick, I had a feeding schedule, right? As told you about, like, every 3rd day, I feed them grain. All the other times, they're on grass. And there's no hormones, no nothing. It's all just like 3 weeks ago, I sprayed all the weeds. And then now I've added more grass. So then in the wintertime, all the grass comes up for the cows to eat. And so they have something to forage on. It's land, that's land management. And so I do take pride in all that. 100%.
I have to come check out your farm, man.
You're welcome here anytime. Come on down.
Clovis, New Mexico. Is that what you said?
No, this is in Salina, Texas.
Got it.
Salina with a C.
I'm writing it down.
Okay.
But I'm gonna follow up with you anyway. Because we're looking at opening up down there in Houston. So
okay.
I'm gonna follow up with you, man. I want to see if I can build a franchise around your beef. I told you that before, like
100%.
Hey, no Diddy on that.
That's good.
Hey, so where can people get a hold of you, brother?
Yeah, so therealnicko.com or look up Nick Ogilvie on Facebook. You'll see a picture of me and my wife, or my wife and I, and we'll be on there on Facebook under Nick Ogilvie, Ogilvie, like you see there on the screen, or Nick at luxeblades.com, LUXE blades, BLADES.com. That's it.
Beautiful. Last question, Nick, and I allow the guests to close us out. If this were the last time that you and I spoke, or it was the only time that my audience got to hear you speak, what would you want us to walk away with?
Oh, that's easy. God's real. That's it.
All right. We'll leave it there. Nick Ogilvie, thank you for your time. I appreciate you so much, man. Much love, bro.
All right, same here. Thanks, Derrick.
All right.